Hi, I'm Mackenzie. Welcome back to the second part of the Korean Adoptees series. In this episode, you'll hear the story of Andrea, who was born in Daegu in 1980 and arrived in Colorado Springs in 1981. Andrea shared her unique journey of coming to the US from South Korea, her relationship with her adoptive family, a horrible accident about her citizenship status, and her plans for her first visit to South Korea. Here is my interview with her. I want to start with the birth search question because I saw many your tweets related to adoption, and I saw one of them you said, I never be able to have access to my original Korean birth certificate. So I want to know your search for your records and your biological parents.
Well, I haven't even attempted to search. I think it's because I don't want to know. I don't want to hear no for the answer. Because I was adopted from South Korea, the odds, and maybe this is what I've been told and I believe it, and maybe it's not true, but because it being a foreign country to me, and then different language, in my mind, it feels like it would be impossible to find my original records and my family. But there are quite a few people who have found their families. So it's not as daunting as I originally thought it would be, but I'm more scared of the answer. So I'm not really optimistic about finding my family, but I do want to.
Oh, so you didn't contact any agencies in America and in the South Korea, right? Okay, I see.
No, I haven't done anything as far as the search yet. The adoption agency that my adopters used, they are no longer, they don't exist anymore. And then I lost all of my adoption paperwork.
Oh,
at one point, I lost all my, so I'm not sure what other adoption agency they went through to even start looking. So I don't really have much to go off of.
So you also never saw those documents, right?
I did see the documents. I didn't get a chance to actually look at them before they were lost, like to really and write things down and pay attention to which agency was used, like which airport did I go through. I know that the orphanage that I was in over there it was in Daegu, South Korea, White Lily Orphanage, but that's all I know.
So you got your circumstances of your early years from, I think, from your adoptive parents' friends. I saw on your tweets.
Yes, I got stories from them that my adopters had tried to adopt before me, and then that adoption fell through, and so they sort of had to settle for me. So there's knowing that, which I didn't find out until a couple years ago. It's unsettling for me because not only was I not the first choice because they wanted a biological child first, but they also had another child that they had in mind that they were excited for. So I wasn't even the second choice. I was the third choice. So that kind of weighs on me.
So you have no idea like your true birth date and your name, original name, medical history, some information like that? No.
No. The birthday I have on my paperwork is June 24th, 1980. The name is Kyungja, Shin Kyungja. But I don't know if that was a name my mother gave me or if it was the orphanage or my foster mother. The paperwork that I was able to read over was that I was placed in the orphanage when I was 3 months old, and then I was adopted out to the States when I was 7 months old. So I was only in the orphanage for 4 months, approximately.
And I guess you have no memory of that time because you're too small, right?
I was too small, yeah.
Yeah, yes. So you have no idea like how you arrived in the US from South Korea?
Actually, that story is very unique. Most of the children and babies that came over to America, they were in boxes on an airplane, and the foster or the adoption agencies brought them over, or the parents flew over to Korea. But mine, I was adopted by a white man and a Chinese woman, and her brother-in-law on the Chinese side, he was doing business over in China and Korea, and he happened to be on a business trip. This is what I was told, is that he happened to be on a business trip when I was supposed to be picked up from the orphanage. And so he picked me up and flew me to Minnesota. And then my great aunt on the Chinese side, she flew me to Colorado Springs. So that is the story, which now that I'm older, I have so many questions like, how was I on the plane ride? You know, how did he do? Because he doesn't seem like he's very he doesn't really like babies. So I can only imagine back then, like how I was on the plane with him for however many hours on the plane ride. So yeah, I have lots of questions.
So the story is your parents told you?
Yes, that my uncle on my mom's side, my adopted mom's side, flew me over here. So that's how I got here.
And did you travel to South Korea, like Daegu?
No, not yet. I want to. I would like to within the next 5 years, but it's expensive, which is what is so discouraging for us. You know, in order to go back to our home country and find any kind of history or be connected to any of our culture, we have to save up thousands of dollars. And for some of us,
Sure.
especially with the economy now, you know, that's an impossible thing. And so we'll never be able to go home.
Can I ask which year you were born and which year you arrived in the US?
1980, I was born. And then February 7th, 1981 is when I landed in Colorado Springs.
Do you know the reason your biological parents decided you were adopted?
No, it did not say anything on the paperwork. It wasn't in English. A lot of the paperwork was in Korean, and so it could have said on there, but I will never know, I don't think.
Okay, so there is a paperwork in Korea that says something, maybe says something related to the reason of your were
There
adopted.
could be. Yes, there could be.
But you didn't access to them.
No.
Because I know you are transracial, could you introduce like your biological parents' race?
According to 23andMe, I did the DNA test. It came back that I was 98% Korean and 2% Japanese.
So
In the adoption world, yeah, 2% Japanese, which is crazy. In the adoption world, though, the word transracial is to say that I was adopted from Korea, raised by white parents, and in white spaces is mainly what it means. Or when you're adopted by another race and then raised with them.
So you did a DNA test. When did you did that?
Last October, so October or September of 2023.
So why you wanted to do that DNA test?
To see if I could find any relatives that way, and then just out of curiosity if I was full Korean, because I've heard all different, Koreans say I'm Korean, other people think that I'm not full Korean. When I was growing up, I heard Filipino because I tan, like when I tan or when I'm in the sun, I get pretty dark. So I was just curious.
So I think we can talk about your life in the US. Could you talk about your adjustments in your family?
Well, because I was a baby and I basically grew up in Colorado Springs, it seemed normal, I guess, but uncomfortable because everywhere I went, the only person that looked like me was my adopted mother, but we didn't grow up with Chinese culture in the house. So I was just living with a woman that looked similar to me, but we never talked about the experiences of being Asian in this country and in the city. So I was always the only one. I remember growing up and recognizing that I was the only one that looked like me in school and church in my neighborhood, which to a certain extent, it was because I'd always been told I was special. So I kind of went with that, but I was never around a lot of Asians growing up at all. And now as an adult, to be around a lot of Asians, it's uncomfortable for me.
So your parents didn't expose you to a Korean culture?
No.
Even your Chinese mom didn't expose you to any Chinese culture, like East Asian culture?
Correct.
Did they have any effort or they don't at all?
Not that I remember. I remember I had one outfit from Korea that they took pictures in when I was 2 or 3, but that's all I remember. Like they didn't send me to Korean culture camps. I had friends growing up that from church, I guess there was one family that adopted 5 kids from Korea. And so we were friends, but they were only in my life for a few years and before they moved away.
Could you talk about your feelings or any experiences, anything you want to say about your lost connection to the Korean culture?
Yeah, it's a hole that I don't think I'll ever be able to fill. Even if I was to move to Korea, embrace all of the culture over there, I still don't think I would feel whole. I sort of feel like I'm appropriating the culture sometimes when I'm in it or at the Oriental market or when I say, a couple of the words that I know in Korean. So it creates a very empty space because I don't feel like I belong here even though I was raised here from a baby. And then I don't feel like I belong to Korea either. So it's a very lonely feeling.
Do you remember any things, specific things that make you feel uncomfortable?
Just looking around at church or looking around at school and realizing that I was the only one that looked like me. And then trying to be friends with like there was maybe 1 or 2 Koreans that were in my high school and wanting to be friends with them, but not really being accepted by their family because I was adopted.
So
So even if I wanted to be friends with them, I couldn't.
your family is in a very white community.
Yes.
Have you ever learned Korean language?
No, I had a friend she was adopted too. And she was actually raised in Korea though. She would try to teach me a few words here and there, but I only know hello and thank you, and please. No, I don't even know please. I just know thank you and yes.
Okay. You learned some terms, but you didn't learn the alphabet, right? The Korean alphabet.
No.
And I have another thing I'm curious because one of your tweets says in 2017, the US said my citizenship status was revoked. Is this your experiences?
Yes. I'm not sure when it happened, but I was naturalized in 1982, I believe. Got citizenship. My adopted parents did all the paperwork, did the whole process, and then in 2017, I applied for FAFSA to try to go back to college and finish my degree, and it said that I didn't qualify because my citizenship status. I have no idea when my citizenship status changed. I just know that when I reached out to my adopted family, they reached out to the senator in Denver and he said, go to the Social Security office, turn in, show them your Social Security card, and then we'll fix it. So I'm still a little uneasy about it because I have no idea what happened. Nobody can
Yeah.
explain to me if it was an accident, somebody pushed a button somewhere or what happened. So 2017 was sort of the beginning of my life unraveling. And I think that was sort of one of the things that caused anxiety in me. But yeah, it got fixed. But if it happens again, I don't know. Or maybe it will never happen again. But I just think about all the people that it has happened to.
Yeah, it's
And they've been
ridiculous.
deported. Yeah, it's scary.
But I'm glad that your thing was fixed now.
Yes.
But you didn't know why this happened, right?
Nope. I have no idea when it happened because I was working for my parents for 8 years. They had their own business. So we didn't have to do, the I-9 and the immigration, all the paperwork for that. So I worked for them for 9 years. So I don't know if something happened while I was working for them during that time. I've heard stories of people, citizenship status changed when we went from a paper system to a computerized system. Somebody just entered the information in wrong. So I have no idea. It was a scary time though.
And because I saw on your Twitter account, your profile photo was a baby. It's your baby or it's your
That was me.
photo? Oh,
That was we call it our mugshot. That's our mugshot from the orphanage. And then
so
it
you
had my
have,
adoption number. Yeah, I had my adoption number on it. There's a little piece of paper. If you zoom in on it, that has my K number. I don't know if that's where I can start if I ever get over to Korea to search.
So you have planned to search. Okay.
Yes.
I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
And I'm also curious, you're growing up in the US. I want to know if you have any experience that let you feel painful or awkward during your growing up. Yeah, other than the things you said before you feel lonely.
Just that constant feeling of not belonging anywhere. And then going to school with mostly military kids. I never really got to form any friendships that lasted. Yeah, just it's been a lonely existence, to say the least. And then I have a hard time attaching to people and trusting people because of being adopted. More recently would be being on Twitter, or now I'm starting to express myself and my feelings towards being adopted, and then to be invalidated, to have people tell me that I'm ungrateful and I'm angry. That's hard.
How you get along with your parents?
We are not really on speaking terms right now. They live in another state for half the year, so they're down there right now. I've tried to mend the relationship, but we just don't see eye to eye on a lot of issues. So it's been better for me to, I think, my mental health, to not have them in my life right now.
Could you share something that make you want to exchange from them?
Well, my adopted mother mainly, not necessarily my adopted father, but adopted mother has that sort of savior attitude. You know, we put a roof over your head, we adopted you, we fed you, you know, that kind of attitude towards me. And then because of life choices that I've made, she takes it personally and feels like I did it as an attack on her, rather than trying to understand what I was going through and why I went through it. So that I just have a hard time with. And then religion reasons, we don't see eye to eye when it comes to religion. We don't see eye to eye on most everything. And we were never really close. Even when I was growing up, it was just kind of, they were the people that raised me, and they weren't very nurturing. They weren't people that I felt like I confided in, especially her. And that would have been helpful, you know, when I was getting picked on at school, to have had somebody to go home to and comfort me. But there wasn't any of that.
When did you start establishing your own bubble, your own community, your own support network around you?
I think it started in middle school. It was majority white school. So it was in middle school, I think maybe eighth grade year, there was enough to fill a table of Black students. And they were the ones that said, hey, come sit with us. You know, we want to be your friend, get you away from all these white kids. So that was when I first found community. That's another reason that I don't speak to my mother, because that's one of the first things she said in therapy was, why are you hanging out with all these Black kids? And then I went on to have Black children. And so my family they're accepting of the children, but I don't think they're accepting of any Black people that are outside the family. And so that's another reason that I'm not really speaking to them. That was my first feeling of community, was eighth grade.
And
now I don't really have, I don't really have a lot of friends anyways, but I do work at a Korean restaurant just to sort of feel like I'm in my culture, but I don't have a lot of Asian friends. I don't really have a lot of friends, period.
yeah, me too, me too.
Yeah, so I've never really had a lot of Asian friends. And going to Asian events, you know, events that are thrown by the Asian community or the Korean community, never really been comfortable being in a room full of Asians either, just because I feel like I don't belong. Even though I look like I look, you know, what does it mean to be Korean, especially in this country? Like, what does it mean to be Korean, and what does it mean to look like I look?
Oh, now you have a daughter, right?
I have two daughters, actually.
You have two daughters. Oh, could you talk about your decision to have babies?
It was not a decision. No, it was a decision. It just wasn't planned for both of but yeah, because I have four children. So I have four children. Two of the youngest are twins. So three pregnancies. I think the decision to be, when I was young, I was in high school when I had my son. In my family, abortion was not even an option. I even did a research paper on abortion when I was 13. So I kind of knew whatever was presented to me. However true it is, I don't know. But based on that, I didn't want to have an abortion. And knowing how I felt growing up, I did not want to put a child through adoption either. I was not going to do that to any of my children. But I definitely wasn't, with three of the kids, I wasn't in a good place mentally, but I still went ahead and made the decision that I was going to keep them and raise them. Definitely, I would not ever I think I would pick abortion over adoption any day if I was to get pregnant again.
How was your feeling after you have biological family members?
It's weird. I can't even describe it, to finally have somebody that looks like you and is from you. It made me feel connected finally. But yeah, it's definitely a very, very different feeling that I can't even put into words.
You said you had your first pregnancy in high school.
Yes, I was 17 when I had my son.
Oh, I'm curious because you were very young at that time. Like how you raised is your son, right?
Yes. Well, I did have my adopted parents. They were as supportive as they could be. I was able to switch around my schedule at school and take night classes so that I could finish and get my diploma. They allowed me to stay in their house. And then I worked part-time to support us, and then moved out when he was almost a year and a half, I think. I moved out with a boyfriend at the time. But most of my support has come from being on welfare. That is what allowed me to raise my kids, was being on welfare.
You're very impressive.
Thank you.
What's your plan for searching your biological relatives or parents in Korea?
I don't have a plan. That's the problem. Yeah, I want to, I guess, get over there. And then I've seen a few Facebook posts that kind of show what to do, turn in a DNA, go to the police station, go to the orphanage. So there's three options that I have once I get over there. That's sort of my plan.
When you're gonna do that, do you have an intention?
Well, let's see. I had said I was going to go over there before I turned 45, which is in 2 years. So I better start saving up. Before I'm 50, I want to go over there, and I'll be 44 in June. So
I really wish you can have some findings.
oh, I hope so. I really hope so.
I saw your Twitter account. A profile name is interesting. Whole Lotus Soul. Would you willing to talk about that?
It's kind of a play on the word soul. I don't know how I came up with it. It was something I came up with years ago, and it was before I found out that I was born in Daegu. Well, before I saw the paperwork that said Daegu was where the orphanage was. But yeah, a whole lot of soul. I was thinking about starting a restaurant at one point, naming it A Whole Lot of Soul, and selling Korean food and soul food, like have a combination of both of those kinds of food. But yeah, I've just stuck with that name for a while.
So after you lived in the US, you never used your Korean name.
No, and I thought about changing it to my Korean name. Part of me wants to still do that, but I'm not sure if I'm able to. And because I don't know if it was a birth name given to me by my mother or if it was a name given to me by somebody else, that's why I haven't done anything about changing my name yet, but I want to.
Yeah, the records could be fabricated. What's your comfort food?
My comfort food would be like fried chicken and smothered pork chops and cornbread.
What flavor you like of the fried chicken?
Mild. I don't like anything spicy, not too spicy. So just like a mild fried chicken. And then the pork chop aren't really spicy, just have a lot of flavor.
You also mentioned that you're considering that you want to write your stories as a book or articles, right?
Yeah, something like that, just to bring awareness to the effects that adoption has and how complex adoption is, and to give people the opportunity to come up with their own version or not version, but imagine a world where we don't need adoption. That's what I want people to do.
Do you have imagined, like when you find your biological parents and your relatives, and you find that maybe the life in there is also not the life you want?
I've thought of that possibility. I've been told of that possibility. A majority of me, just because of the struggles and the experiences that I've had here, I've experienced homelessness. I've experienced mental health issues. I've experienced being on the outside. And so and rejection and that kind of thing. And I know it wouldn't be the same as if I had grown up in Korea with a single mother, but me personally, I would have rather stayed in Korea and struggled. Like if I was going to struggle, I would rather struggled over there.
I'm so impressed by your resilience going through all of it in the US.
Yeah, so it's definitely taken a lot to be here.
Okay, so I have asked all my questions. It is heart-wrenching to hear Andrea said, if I was gonna struggle, I would rather struggle in Korea. What surrounds adoption is a person's real life, and its weight is greater than we might imagine. And although the error about Andrea's citizenship status has been fixed, the insecure feeling that there are Korean adoptees who have been deprived of US citizenship and at risk of deportation continues to remind us of the loophole in the system that was supposed to protect the rights of Korean adoptees. Thanks for listening. See you in the final episode of Korean Adoptees Serials.